think about depositors, especially the ones that earn no interest, they don't really get compensated for the risk they take.
Yeah.
So I think banks should be regulated as utilities. We have a fractional reserve banking system, and to have so that when you have a fractional reserve banking system, you basically have to have trust.
Yeah.
And if the trust is very fragile, if it goes away, the whole system falls apart. Why? Because if everybody goes to the bank today and says, "I want my deposits back," we're not going to have an economy, right? So my point is this. And by the way, I'm a libertarian, so I feel like we should allow companies to fail.
Yeah.
But I would argue there is a huge difference between the bond holders, equity holders, and depositors. And the difference is this: equity holders, when analyzed, they get to reap the rewards of appreciation. Bond holders get less reward, because but they still get a reward.
Yeah.
And professionals can do that. When as depositors, you want them to be mindless. So that the first two groups, equity holders and bond holders, you want them to be mindful. Depositors, you want them to be mindless.
You don't want them doing due diligence on the bank.
Exactly, because first of all, can you imagine? So that every grandmother has to be now
charity business. Yes.
How much time we're going to be wasting? How much time we're going to be wasting on doing analysis? Number one. Number two, I would argue the reason we should just have no limits for the FDIC insurance, because we should just charge proportionately to the size of the balances. So let's just get paid for it. I'm not saying it should not be freebie.
Yeah.
No, let's banks charge for that, or whatever, and so that way it's going to be, if you have I'll give you an example, and I wrote about this. We had money at Silicon Valley Bank without having money at Silicon Valley Bank.
I remember this. Yeah.
Because we used the company Bill.com to send payments from our bank, which was Vector Bank, to another institution, which was not Silicon Valley. Bill.com, we did not even know this, used Silicon Valley Bank. So suddenly, if Silicon Valley, and we had hundreds of thousands of dollars in the way Bill.com works, I write a check, they put the money in Silicon Valley Bank, they make a little bit of money on the float, and that's how they made money. If Silicon Valley Bank went back, by the way, I'm saying this not because what I'm about to say was not shaped by that experience. I had that. I felt this way before I found out I actually had money with Silicon Valley Bank, but we would have lost a few $100,000 without really taking any risk or being compensated for that risk, right? Because if you think about depositors, especially the ones that earn no interest, they don't really get compensated for the risk they take.
Yeah.
So I think banks should be regulated as utilities. Now, about how many banks? This is a very interesting point. So today, 80% of commercial loans are originated by small banks, small and regional banks.
Yep.
Okay, half of consumer loans originated by small banks.
Small and regional banks.
Yeah. So I think the big difference between there's geographical differences between Japan, Canada, and in other countries, and like you have small banks in little towns that the JP Morgan does not even know how to spell. So I think there is absolutely no reason why we can't have small banks. It's just right now what we created it's kind of a dual system, too big to fail, those banks, and they have a lot of little banks. So you have a double standards. So because we basically said if you're JP Morgan, we'll bail you out. But we're going to regulate the hell out of you, and you can afford that because you have a lot more income. You can cover a lot more fixed costs. But I think our system actually kind of works. It's just we need to we just need better regulation. We need better regulation, and we just have a bigger FDIC insurance and charge for that. And therefore, if Silicon Valley Bank goes bankrupt and equity holders and bond holders get wiped out, so be it. just make sure that deposits don't get wiped out, and whatever FDIC contributes to it, make sure your premiums are good enough to cover that. That's all.